During the 19th dynasty of ancient Egyptian pharaohs, the intimidating pharaoh Seti I orders the deaths of all male Israelite children. These Jewish residents are used as slaves in the construction of Egyptian buildings. But Seti does not want them to become too prolific. Thus, countless children are murdered, drowned horrifically in the Nile. Apart from them, however, a single Hebrew child, Moses, is spared this fate when his mother casts him down the Nile in a basket, avoiding the watchful eye of Egyptian soldiers. In an ironic turn of events, this basket is discovered by the daughter of Seti I, and due to her kindness, the abandoned child is taken in and raised along with her son, Ozymandias. Neither Moses, Seti, his wife, nor her son notice that Moses is of Hebrew descent. Thanks to this, the young child is able to grow up as Ozymandias' half-brother, becoming the best of friends in the process. Once of age, Ozymandias ascends as the third pharaoh of the 19th dynasty under the name Ramses II and the pharaoh Muryamen. The 70-some years of his reign during the 13th to 14th century BC are regarded as the golden age of ancient Egypt. In this position, he governs a vast empire as a wise ruler and is often credited for ordering the construction of many epic structures in his domain. He commands Egypt's armies against their neighboring enemies, the Hittites, as a skilled general. He is famous for having many wives, between them fathering over 100 children. His most beloved, Nefertari, is regarded as the most beautiful woman in the world, likened to the Egyptian goddess of love, Hathor. Beyond combat, he establishes peace and prosperity in Egypt by propagating cultural exchange and mutual interaction. Under these conditions, he lives happily with his gorgeous wife and, of course, his close friend and half-brother Moses. Again, ironically, Ozymandias' claim to prosperous cultural exchange is put to the test. While he loves his people, and they love him in return, in a matter befitting the god Osiris, Egypt still stands as a tyrannical force over its Jewish slaves. Moses witnesses an Egyptian man abusing one of his slaves, and while trying to intervene, accidentally kills the man. Thus, he is forced out of his life as a prince, and later on, while traversing Mount Horeb, Moses discovers his Hebrew heritage by stumbling upon a burning bush, viewing its splendor as communication from the Judean God, designating him to be the prophet of his people. Enlightened, Moses returns to his homeland and becomes the Hebrew prophet, preaching the glory of his God, effectively denouncing the Egyptian gods in the process. This revelation forever strains the friendship between the half-brothers. Despite their friendship, Ozymandias is first and foremost a stern ruler and valued the readily available labor of the Jewish people in his land. Thus, when Moses demands that he free the Hebrews, he cruelly refuses. Furthermore, to do so would be an insult to the prowess of his own pantheon of deities. Of course, if friendship cannot persuade the pharaoh, Moses must rely on more intense measures. As if to deny the power of Egyptian gods altogether, Ozymandias' refusal triggers the coming of the 10 plagues of Egypt, also known as the 10 biblical plagues. For the following days, Ozymandias and his Egyptian subjects are met with horrible catastrophes. For the first plague, the Nile's flourishing water is turned to blood, killing the fish and raising stench into the air. The second, Egypt is swarmed with frogs, which infest the streets, the people's homes, and their beds. The third, from the ground's dust come lice that prey upon the people and their animals. The fourth, wild beasts are unleashed upon the people and their livestock. The fifth, the surviving livestock are plagued with horrible disease, killing off Egypt's horses, donkeys, camels, cattle, sheep, and goats. Sixth, furnace soot covers Egypt, causing painful, festering boils to erupt upon the people. Seventh, a terrible hailstorm strikes upon all who have yet to take shelter. Eighth, A massive swarm of locusts blanket all of Egypt, devouring its trees and produce. 9th, the sun is blocked from the land, shrouding it in shadow for 3 days. The 10th and final plague is the most unbearable. The plague is to pass through Egypt, instantly killing every firstborn son in the land. To protect the Lord's followers, Moses instructs the Hebrews to paint their doors in lamb's blood, so that the plague will pass over their homes and spare their children. Tragically, this courtesy is not bestowed upon the Pharaoh's son. The firstborn he cherishes, along with Nefertari, helplessly dies among the horrific wailing that spreads throughout the night. In the aftermath of these disasters, Ozymandias is broken, angrily permitting freedom to the Hebrew people. Of all this hatred, none is directed toward Moses, who merely acts to free his own people. As the Hebrews leave the kingdom of Egypt, one of Ozymandias' advisors strongly urges the pharaoh to send an army after them in pursuit. With his wrath getting the better of him, Ozymandias complies. Moses and his followers near their escape, but find themselves barred off by the presence of the Red Sea. Time is short, as Moses witnesses the coming of Ozymandias and a legion of charioteers in the distance. In an act of divine empowerment, Moses spreads his arms and, in turn, the Red Sea itself parts to create an avenue for escape. Bearing witness to this spectacle, Ozymandias is convinced to let his closest friend go with a simple farewell. Putting this conflict behind him, Ozymandias continues his reign as pharaoh. Nefertari gives birth to Ozymandias' second prince. The pharaoh nears the end of his life. While the death of a pharaoh is treated as only the start of a journey toward reaching the gods, he himself hated his own powerlessness. After all, he is already revered as a god holding the world in the palm of his hand. As a pharaoh, his ego and confidence are unwavering, and he calls himself the Sun King, child of the sun god Ra. Why should he be forced to go to his eternal sleep before he is ready? In his helplessness, he declares, "No man in the world grieves as I grieve upon the brink of death." Despite this, he is forced to embrace the truth that he will die, even if his rest leads to rebirth in the eternal paradise of the gods. His fate sealed, the pharaoh passes on, and his body is buried in the Egyptian Valley of the Kings, while his legends and glory are recorded into the Throne of Heroes. By the modern era, his remains are excavated and preserved at the Museum of Egyptian Antiquities in Cairo. Removed from his mythological resting place, he can be summoned as a heroic spirit into a body that is not his own. In one of the Akashic Records' many timelines, in preparation for the First Tokyo Holy Grail War, he is summoned as a rider-class servant into the present day with Nefertari's necklace used as the catalyst by a mage named Shizuri Isemi. Upon discovering this, Ozymandias is furious, outraged by the fact that his beloved wife's tomb was raided as a means of summoning him. In this manifestation, he takes the opportunity to live without restraint, pursuing his every will, even harboring a desire to slay his own master in revenge. In battle, Ozymandias fights primarily as a magus despite his rider class. Rather, he is affiliated with the rider class mainly because of one of his noble phantasms, Mesektet, the solar ship of the Dark Knight. His claim to be the sun god himself manifests in the god's very own ship for combat. It fires beams of light and even a concentrated blast, radiating as the serpent that slaughters serpents. With its might, Ozymandias can supposedly destroy all of Tokyo in mere hours. As if that weren't intimidating enough, Ozymandias wields the Sphinx of Abu el-Hol, the lion-bodied beast of the hot sand. An incarnation of the sky god Horus, it allows him to summon forth various powerful sphinxes, all led by their king sphinx, Wehem Mesut. Beyond this, however, he possesses an even greater noble phantasm, Ramesium Tentiris, the shining Great Temple Complex. His very might is a pharaoh, embodied into a form of reality marble. It is a massive complex of corridors leading to its main temple and throne room. From within, he is blessed by protections and defended by curses that are associated with the gods said to be housed within. Among them, Ozymandias and his guardian beasts are immortal while the temple still stands. His opponents are poisoned by an Egyptian divine spirit, and their noble phantasms are sealed. This restriction holds unless the opponent is a divine spirit or related to one. In addition to all of its defensive capabilities, the temple can channel its contained mana into a devastating beam of light, the Dendara electric bulb, the great light bulb of Amun-Ra. Compared to his Mesektet, the long-range blast of the bulb is more akin to a solar flare, able to vaporize Tokyo or an entire naval fleet. In a last resort, the temple can even be used to fall from the sky and smash into a target. Such impressive might is only in his possession because of his tremendous fame and the claim that all temples of past, present, and future exist for my own good. To legitimize this declaration, his name is engraved into most Egyptian monuments. During the war, he comes face to face with King Arthur Pendragon and Arash. Despite his ridiculous strength, he falls when struck simultaneously by the light of Excalibur and Arash's noble phantasm, Stella. They are able to activate their strongest attacks in his presence because Arthur makes use of Paracelsus's Philosopher's Stone to temporarily repel the temple's curse. In his final moments, Ozymandias claims that Excalibur's light, while much brighter, reminds him of the light cast by Moses during the parting of the Red Sea. In an alternate universe, humanity faces its destruction via incineration. Chaldea, humanity's last hope, sends its only master, Ritsuka Fujimaru, to various singularities to retrieve holy grails planted by Solomon, the king of mages. One of these singularities is a distorted space containing sections of Jerusalem and Egypt. From the Holy Grail, Ozymandias is summoned alongside the pharaoh Nitocris, who almost immediately defers to his divine excellence. He believes his summoning to be a mission to save the world from destruction, and thus seizes the Holy Grail from the Crusaders in Jerusalem, going so far as to oppose the Lion King and the various incarnations of Hassan-i-Saba. In accordance with this defiance, King Hassan, the old man of the mountain, even confronts the pharaoh in his own temple. After a swift bout, Hassan beheads Ozymandias, but thanks to the protection of his temple, he is able to remain alive while inside. Thus, he must continue his pursuit in the singularity without leaving the temple's vicinity. Regardless, he abstains from assaulting the distant mountains. Ultimately, Ozymandias is confronted by Ritsuka's party, and after losing to them in a test of strength, even after harnessing the power of a demon god pillar, he lends them his army of sphinxes to use in their assault against the holy city of Camelot. However, the party is unable to penetrate the massive barrier erected around the tower at the ends of the world. Deciding to sacrifice himself in their aid, Ozymandias lets loose the full power of the Remisium Tentirius. When this proves ineffective, both he and Nitocris combine their efforts to send the temple crashing into the tower, obliterating the barrier. This act of sacrifice serves as one of the most critical steps in resolving the singularity and, in turn, ensuring the survival of mankind. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe to OtakuDaiKun for more anime lists, reviews, discussions, lore videos, live streams, and the Holy Waifu Wars. If you're interested in seeing this channel grow, please consider becoming a patron or donating in a super chat during any of my weekly live streams. Also, feel free to check the description for my social media profiles, including an ever-growing Discord full of fans of anime and the Fate series. Until next time, celebrate your fandom.